Okay, I'm going to take a brief minute to talk about how I approach aerations and overseedings, because I think in my experience when I got started, I didn't really know what I was doing. And people will ask me, well, how do you bid out for this? And how do you charge for this type of a service? So this is what works for me. You may want to do it completely different, but this is what I do. The first thing I want to do is I want to look at the lawn. Because I want to see how dense the grass is. I also want to see if they have bare spots or bare areas that might need soil. And I want to talk with the customer about what their expectations are. Typically, an overseeding with an aeration is something that's going to thicken up the lawn. But if they've got a lot of bare spots, for example, then it's going to need more work than just an aeration and overseeding. We're going to need to have some soil brought in. And I also want to talk with them about their fertilization history for the season. When was their pre-emergent put down, if there was one, and what was used? When was the most recent herbicide put down, if one was used? These things help me to determine whether or not the grass seed is going to even germinate, or if it's going to struggle. And so I always take that into consideration. Then I take into consideration also the type of grass seed that they're going to use. The type of grass seed is going to influence the cost. I can get a really good bag of a 100% Kentucky bluegrass that's coated with yellow jacket for about $330, $350 for 50 pounds, okay? And that's a specialty seed there. It's coated, so it helps to increase the germination probability. But they might want something just a fescue, for example, or they might want sort of a blend. So I talk with them about what they want, and based on what their needs are. Do they have shade? Do they have sunlight, etc.? But I also want to look at the soil. I want to see it. When that soil is dry, if it's a light brown, I already know that it's void of any nutrient value. The soil profile is through the ground. It's no good. Now, technically, if I wanted to get real, OCD, I could do a soil test. But more times than not, I have found that basic amendments like organic fertilizers and humic acids do wonders to help improve the soil profile. And then also we can look at things like doing like a tree leaf compost, which I think is very, very beneficial. I've been doing that on my own lawn now for several years, and it's this particular section of my lawn is just doing really, really well, and I'm really pleased with it. But back to what I said earlier, when you want to look at it, also you want to determine you want to look at the density of the grass, because that determines how much grass seed you're going to use. Am I going to come in and just put 3 to 5 pounds per 1,000 square feet, for example, or am I going to put 8 pounds, like some of the bags of seed will say that they recommend as much, which I think is a bit overkill. But there's stuff like that has to be taken into consideration, in addition to whether or not, or whether the size of the lawn itself. Are we looking at a 5,000 square foot lawn, or are we looking at a 20,000 square foot lawn? Are we looking at a lawn that is on a hill, for example? Are we looking at a lawn that has a lot of seed, or rather shade? Does it have an irrigation system? Because I need that seed to germinate when I put it down for them. So am I going to provide hoses and timers and sprinklers, which I oftentimes do. I'll rent those to my new clients. So you can get overly difficult with it, but my ultimate goal in a seeding is I want them to have one heck of a return, and I want to do it a certain way. And to me, I want to do it the right way, and these are all the steps that I'm going to follow. And as long as they water it in the coming weeks, and as long as they've been truthful to me about the herbicides that have been put down and the pre-emergents that have been put down, then then we know where we're at. We know what we need to do, or if we need to wait to get it down. A lot of times people will do these aeration and overseedings really late in the fall. The seed doesn't germinate. It's still there come the coming spring, and their lawn applicator guy comes by and puts down prodiamine, and it kills off the seed, instead of using a specialty starter fertilizer, which is what I use on the cool season grasses, like mesotrione. It gives me 30 days of pre-emergent protection. I come back, I hit it again with the starter with mesotrione, and then 30, 45 days, maybe even as long as 60 days after that, I might put a pre-emergent down, depending on how the lawn has responded and whether or not I want to seed again later in the fall. So there are numerous different details that have to be considered, but the nuts and bolts of it, what I'm trying to get at is you really need to see a property if you want that customer to get a return. And look, there are sometimes clients will ask me for a seeding, and I look at it and it's not necessary. A lot of people don't realize this. But you could get grass that's too dense. The more dense that grass is, the longer that it takes to dry out, which is a nightmare, especially here in the Midwest, central Indiana. When we get hot and humid, then you start looking at different types of diseases, and hopefully you don't find yourself in a situation where you got Pythium blight or whatever. So anyway, take these things into consideration. I found that when I follow these steps and I'm really thorough like this, not only do I get a significantly higher yield, but I get customers that are more happy. They have me back again in the future, and they tell others about me, and that's a win.